Hey guys, so here's the notes for the Chapter 7 extension. We are actually going to use trig to find the area of a triangle. Now, know that the general formula for area of a triangle is 1/2 base times our height. So remember, if we have our base of a triangle, here's our base, and here's our height. Now, the thing is, though, we are not always going to have, a right triangle when we're doing these problems. So the idea here is that we're going to use trig so we can do a straight up and down for our height. So our new formula is going to be area equals 1/2 A, and A is going to represent the base, times B sine of theta. So let me talk about what do each of these represent. So the base is going to be our A value, and the height is going to represent B and then the sine of theta. Now B is going to be a side. And where you see like this theta, what I'm calling, that's going to be the angle they give to us. Okay? Now this might seem kind of confusing, but actually when we do the problems, it's going to make a lot more sense here. Okay? So let's go and do our first example so we can talk about what does this A and the B times sine theta really represent. Okay, so for our first example, I'm going to once again write the formula so we remember here. Okay? So here it says a farmer is planning how to divide his land for planting next year's crops. A triangular plot of land is left with two known side lengths measuring 500 meters and 1,700 meters. And so we can definitely see our picture here. Okay, so we are going to make sure we can use this formula to help ourselves. So we're going to represent, what does the A, B, and sine of theta represent? So let's look here. Notice that we do have our height and we have that right triangle. The 1,700, that's going to represent our base. And remember here, the base is the A value. So I'm going to say A is equal to 1,700. Now we need to do B and sine of theta. What is this going to represent? Well, remember, B is going to be the side length. So 500 is our side. And then notice here that 30 is our angle we are going to use. So our side is going to be the B value. So we have 500. Then we do sine, and our theta, or the angle, is going to be 30. Okay? So we have 500 times sine of 30. Now, we're going to put this all together to do our area. So we have area equals 1/2. Our base is going to be 1,700, so I'm going to put that in parentheses. I'm going to put the 500 in parentheses, so that's the other side. And remember, when we talk about base, that's the bottom of the triangle. So if you need to write that down, make sure. So this is the bottom of the triangle. So whatever is the bottom of your triangle, okay, that's going to be your base. Then we have sine of 30, and that's going to be in parentheses. Okay, so you do have to use your calculator to do this. We're going to go ahead and put this all together so we can find our answer here. Okay, so make sure you have your calculator out. We're going to use the graphing calculator to do so. So make sure first that you are in degree mode. If you are not, remember how to do that. Go to mode. Now we're going to scroll down where we see radians. So we down arrow, then go to the right and make sure degree is being highlighted. Then you're going to press enter so that we are making in degree mode, and then your calculator should say degree mode, or DEG, which also means degree. To get out of this, we're going to press the second and mode button. That means we just quit out of that. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and plug these values in. First is going to be the 1/2. I'm going to put 1/2 in parentheses. And then I'm going to put the 1,700 in parentheses. and the 500. So make sure all of these have separate parentheses. Now, I'm going to use my sign. We will always use sign here, okay? And I'm going to go back to why we're going to use sign. So make sure, remember, sign is right here. We press sign, and then we put 30, and then we close the parentheses and press enter. And so this will be our final answer. So 212,500. Now, the reason we are using sign, because maybe some of you are like, why do we have to use sign? We're going to use cosine and tangent. Remember, what is sine? What is that trig ratio? It is opposite over hypotenuse, okay? So here, if we kind of redraw this little box, the 90 degrees, okay, we have our 30 degrees. Notice H, that is our opposite side, that's our height. And then the 500, that is our, basically our hypotenuse. So that's why whenever we're doing this, we will always use sine for our area of the triangle, okay? So don't forget that. So just kind of memorize the formula and it helps. Okay, so now our answer here, as we've got, is 212,500. Now, because we are doing real-world problems, we need to make sure we have units. Notice our units was meters. So I'm going to have m, and then I'm going to square. Because remember, anytime we squared, that represents area. So this will be our final answer. Okay, so make sure, go ahead and watch the next part. Once again, we are just going to find the area of the triangle using trig.